Hello and welcome back to the Perfunctionist channel. Before we get into the meat of the video, I just want to say that yesterday I heard some sad news that the bass player Alec had passed away. In case you don't know, he was the original bass player for Bon Jovi, so you know all the classic Bon Jovi songs you heard back in the day, he was the bass player on that. Fantastic bass player. Just go and watch An Evening with Bon Jovi. I think the whole thing is on YouTube now, but it's a fantastic concert and really showcases Alec's skill on the bass and as a member of Bon Jovi. So sorry to start on a downer, but I thought I'd just give him some props because he was a big part of my musical upbringing, during my childhood when I was in my teens, listening to Bon Jovi, who were at one point my favourite band, and part of that was because of Alec. So rest in peace, Alec, and condolences to your close loved ones and your friends and the people you were close to. So with that mentioned, let's get on with the video. So if you've seen some of my previous videos, you may have come across some other videos I've done on double tracking effects on the Helix, which you would use live, because if you're going to do it in the studio, I would suggest just double tracking it properly, like recording a second track and then panning it appropriately. But if you're going to do it live, if you want that effect live, maybe you're on in-ear monitors and you want to have that kind of stereo spread, then there are some ways you can do that on the Helix. We have previously looked at the double take, which is a built-in effects block on the Helix that allows you to get that kind of effect. There's some other ways of doing it which were around before the Helix brought out the double take effect. So the one I used to use, which I kind of still do use it, but it was the one I used before the double take came out, was just a delay effect where you split the signal into left and right, offset the right hand signal by about 20-25 milliseconds or so, and you get this kind of because of the difference in the delay, you get to hear it. It sounds like it's been double tracked. It's kind of mimicking the imperfections of recording a second take on your guitar and panning it. And I've recently discovered that in the latest firmware update on the Helix, the 3.15 update, there is an effect called the ADT, which I believe stands for automatic double tracker, and it is another means of getting that double track effect on the guitar, on your Helix, for live use. And we're going to look at that today and see how it stacks up compared to some of the other methods. So if you go to your Helix, or if you go to HX Edit and you look at the parameters you have for the ADT, it can be quite overwhelming. There's a lot of things that you can adjust, and at first, unless you've got experience with these things, you may not understand what you're looking at, and it may be quite daunting, and you may be tempted to just think, you know what, I'm going to leave it for the moment. I kind of had that thought as well, but there's some great resources on the internet which you can check out. The one that did it for me was a Jason Staditz video, and a fellow YouTuber who, if you haven't heard of him, check him out. He does a lot of Helix content, and goes into great depth, and he's very good. So check out his video on the ADT if you want to get an understanding of what all the different parameters do. The ADT itself doesn't just do double tracking tones. You can use it for other things as well. There's some other videos I've seen on YouTube which go into detail on some of the other things that it can do, the different tones you can get. But we're focusing today on the double tracking sound. So the ADT is essentially a tape emulator. It's mimicking like a studio technique where you would send your guitar signal, and once it's recorded, into two tape reels, I believe, and you can mess around and manipulate it to get certain tones. I'm not the most conversant person when it comes to those kind of studio techniques, so but it's a welcome addition to the Helix to kind of get those tones, especially for someone like me who likes to have these kind of double tracking effects live, because I'm one of the lucky people who, in at least in one of the bands I play in, has the luxury of having in-ear monitors in stereo. Not everyone is able to do that, depending on how sophisticated your monitoring system is. But yes, at least I get to explore it, and hopefully if you guys can have a go at this as well. I think I should have this available for download. It's essentially the same as my JCM 800 preset that I made a while ago, except I've swapped out the delay, as in the delay for the double tracking effect, for the ADT. So if you want to download it for that, then feel free. The JCM 800 preset with the delay for double tracking is also available on there. I think it's just JCM 800. This one will be JCM 800 ADT, I believe it's called. But check that out on the Custom Tone website. And if you do download this preset, or any other preset, or if you just like what I do on the channel in general, you can buy me a virtual coffee, which is essentially a tip. It's not a literal coffee. And I'm very much in advance appreciative of that. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get straight into the video and check out some tones. I will talk about the layout a little bit. And yeah, let's check it out. Feel free to like this video if you do like it. Give it a thumbs up and subscribe also if you feel like it. So this is my layout on the Helix for the ADT. It should seem familiar. It should be the same layout as when we did the JCM 800 video a while ago. The only difference is I've swapped out what did I have in there? I can't remember what I had. It was either the double take or the delay. I think it was a delay actually. And I swapped it out for the ADT there, and I've put it just after the speaker, after the cab sim. And so the ADT is essentially replacing that method, and we're going to see how it sounds. As you can see, it's switched on here. I've got it kind of switchable. I can turn it on and off as necessary. And on most of these snapshots, it's on. And for the solo, it's not on because I want that in mono. But I've got it there to turn it on and off if necessary. Right, let's check some tones out. Let's start with the ADT off. That's on a relatively clean sound there. Or I've switched to the crunch preset, and let's go into stomp box mode. I've turned on the SD1, the Boss Super Overdrive model, and let's start without the ADT. So what you should find, the effect is that, or one of the benefits of having like a double track sound is that it moves your tone, it shifts it out of the way to the left and right. So things like the vocals, or if there's a solo going on in the middle of your stereo spectrum, it kind of makes things a bit less cluttered when you listen to them. So this can apply to live as well. So this is more of a live tool, and it allows you to, especially if you're on in-ears, and I guess maybe for front of house as well, allows you to create that sonic space to let all the instruments that are involved kind of breathe and give them a bit more space to be heard and not sound too cluttered. Right, let's stick with this tone and let's go to something a bit rockier, a bit heavier. And start with the ADT off. And let's compare that with the JCM 800, the original JCM 800 preset that I made, the non-ADT one. So yes, it looks like it's still a delay there. So let's check this one out. I'll put the same effect on. So it should sound pretty similar tonally, except we're using the we're using the delay to get the double tracking effect. And we've gone back to our ADT preset, but I've swapped out the ADT for the double take effect. So here's the same song with the double take. So which version of the double tracking did you prefer? Let me know in the comments below. We had the ADT, which is what we're looking at today. We've previously looked at the delay method and using the double take effects block that's built into the Helix. So let me know which one you preferred and why. And yeah, mention that in the comments below, and I'd be interested to hear what you guys think of that. So there you go. That is the ADT, one of the newer effects blocks on the Helix, the automatic double tracker. So how did you find the sounds? How did you find the tones? How did you find it in comparison to using delay for the same purpose or using the double take effect? So for me, I liked it. I find it fills in the gaps in that stereo field quite nicely. It sounds good, definitely on its own. It sounds really fuller, and because you've got so many parameters to change the sound of it, what you'll find, because what I usually have is I have the double tracking effect on the Helix switchable. I can turn it on and off on whatever snapshot I'm in. It's not a problem, but the only issue that brings up is that if I do turn it off and on, the tonal difference, there is a slight tonal difference between the two tones. If that's what you want, then great. But I usually want the double tracking effect to just be a double tracking effect. And I don't really want there to be a tonal difference. That being said, the tonal difference is actually quite nice. I like it, kind of seems to tame some of the harshness a little bit. I guess you get used to whatever the sound is anyway. But I do prefer the sounds to be the same, but just one of them is in mono and one of them is kind of wide, in like a wide stereo. And because it fills in the gaps in between, I also find something like the delay technique to feel a bit wider because it's not filling in the gaps in between, the space in between. Again, it's all up to personal taste. I do like the tone of the ADT. It does have that, I guess in my head, it kind of has that tape effect where it kind of doesn't make it sound too digital or too pristine. There's a little bit of imperfection, I guess you could say, to some extent. Maybe I'm not using the right words, but I do like the tone of it. So if you're going to be using this effect and you're not going to have it switching on and off, you just got it on all the time, or if you're not using it for the double tracking method like I'm doing, and you're just using it more for tonal purposes, then great. Then this last bit doesn't apply to you. But for me, for using it for double tracking purposes, I do notice that shift. Would I use that tonal shift? Would I use it live? Yes, I haven't had the chance to use it on a gig yet. The only gigs I've had recently have been with a real amp because there's no any monitors. So I haven't had the chance to try this live, but I will. I do have some gigs coming up in the summer, and I would like to give that a go. And let me know if you're interested in what I think about it after I've tried it live. But you let me know what you think, and if you've tried it as well, I definitely would like to know what you think of it in the comments below. Speaking of comments, let's have a look at some from my last video. So the last video was on the Fullerton amp, but through the power cab. How does it sound if you're using it as essentially a backline? So Philip Dochier, forgive me if I've pronounced your name wrong, has just mentioned that he likes to use the Dino speaker. I'm not sure if that's with the Fullerton, but he just mentioned that he likes the Dino speaker. That's great. I think I did try. I kind of tried them all to some extent. I don't remember Dino in particular, but yeah, find what works for you and yeah, go for it. Jarvis has mentioned that he is kind of starting his guitar journey, and he's finding my Helix videos quite useful, which is exactly the point of the channel. So that pleases me greatly to hear you say that, Jarvis. So good luck on your guitar journey. I hope it helps you with well, just kind of getting through life. We all need something like that to get through life sometimes, don't we? So yeah, good luck, Jarvis. I think you're the guy who bought me some coffees as well. So if that was you, very much appreciated, and I hope you continue to enjoy the content. I'll do one more, a little bit of ego stroking for me. Ruan Nell just says, your channel is super underrated, dude. Well, dude, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And yes, hopefully I can get a bit more traction on YouTube. But anyway, it's all about you guys. As long as I'm providing what you guys are after, then that's how I'll get less underrated. So hopefully I can continue to do that. I will see you guys in the video next week. So you take care of yourself and have a good week.